Hello and welcome. The following show is the first of 2 shows about hearing loss in young children. You'll hear members of 4 families discuss their experiences with having their child identified at birth with a hearing loss and the intervention that followed diagnosis. We are most grateful to the Ida Institute of Denmark for offering to generously fund these 2 programs, and to the Dr. Gertrude A. Barber National Institute for making the participants available, and of course to all the participants and members of the CATV staff. Thank you. I'm Dr. Janet Tryken, an audiologist in the Early Intervention Program with the Barber National Institute. For years, hearing loss in children went undetected until the child was 2 to 4 years of age, and in many instances the hearing loss was missed until the child began school. By waiting, many critical developmental milestones for the young child could be missed, putting the child at high risk for developmental delays in all areas of life: cognitive, physical, emotional, and social. However, the time of diagnosis has now changed. New technology has made the identification of hearing loss possible for even the newborn while still in the hospital. It's estimated that hearing loss occurs in 3 of every 1,000 births. We hope this program helps viewers to understand the importance of hearing loss, its impact on families, and the services that are available to families without cost to help overcome problems that hearing loss can cause. Thank you.
Hi everybody, good to see you all again. Nikki, good to meet you.
Thank you.
And my name is Sam Tryken, just to remind folks, and I'm a psychologist, and I've been working with people who have hearing loss for about 28 years, and I'm interested in all ages, all levels of hearing loss. And I just wanted to say that the Ida Foundation out of Copenhagen, Denmark, has funded this particular program, what we're doing here tonight. And they have a series of questions that they wanted us to answer that have to do most specifically with the audiologist who informed you initially about the fact that there was a potential for hearing loss for your newborn infant, and also this program is sponsored by the Barber National Institute, and in that regard, they probably want to know some more about the services that you have received over time from that particular group. So I would, if we can get folks to introduce themselves, that would be great. And we can start with Pete, if you would.
Sure. I'm Peter Herneisen, and this is my wife, Jennifer.
And we have a daughter, Emma Herneisen, who is just shy of 4 years old. She's going to be 4 in 1 month. And she was born with bilateral sensory neural hearing loss. She wears a cochlear implant in her right ear, and she wears a hearing aid in her left ear.
My name is Nikki Willett Evans. I have a 10-week-old, Ryan, who is diagnosed with bilateral sensory neural disorder, and we are currently in the process of having him fitted for hearing aids. Should be within the next couple weeks.
My name is Mark Segarra. This is my wife, Shay.
And we have a son, Joshua, who will be 5 years old tomorrow. He was born with bilateral neurosensory hearing loss as well, moderate to severe, and doing wonderful.
I'm Jonathan Edwards, and this is my wife, Amy.
We have a 2.5-year-old daughter, Claire. She was also born with bilateral sensory neural hearing loss in the severe to profound range. And at 8 months, she had cochlear implant surgery, and she's doing fantastic.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you all. I think we'll just go with the first question, and I'll start by asking Pete, and then we'll just go around and have people respond to that question, and I can repeat it for folks each time in case it's hard to keep this stored in memory. And the first question is, what kind of support did you get from the audiologist when your child was first diagnosed with hearing loss?
Well, just a lot of explaining, what's going to go on, and a lot of support as how to acquire hearing aids and everything like that. I have to give my wife a lot of credit. She handled a lot of that because she was home on maternity leave. So, I was there. I think she was getting a lot of the information directly, and I was kind of getting more of that through her.
Okay. Did you want to add?
Yeah, we had a great experience with our audiologist. We were informed at birth that our daughter did not pass the newborn hearing screening, and they had us come back after we were let go from the hospital. After we had the child, we were told to come back in about 2 weeks, and then they were told that she did not pass the newborn hearing screening and that her hearing was showing to be into the severe to profound hearing loss in both ears. But we did get a wealth of knowledge from the audiologist, and both at the hospital where she was born, but also the audiologist that we work with through early intervention.
Wonderful.
This is relatively new. He's 10 weeks old, so like your case, Ryan failed his newborn screening test. He then proceeded to fail the test, about 3 tests thereafter. The early intervention program is fantastic. The audiologist has provided us with so much information. It's a lot to absorb, but we are currently working, like I said, trying to get him the hearing aids within the next couple of weeks, and it's just a lot to absorb. So it's relatively fresh.
And when you were first informed, when about the possibility of the hearing loss, and did you get some good support from the medical people at that point, from the audiologist?
We did, absolutely. They went through and they explained the test, the different tests that they conducted, and then through early intervention, they have been my right hand. Weekly appointments, and it's just nice to have someone there knowing that you have the support.
Thanks, Mick. And Mark, what kind of support did you get from the audiologist when your child was first diagnosed?
We got a lot of confusion. Actually, Shan and I didn't know exactly how to react, what the severity was. We were extremely confused. We actually turned down services at first because of not knowing exactly what Josh's limitations were, or what he was experiencing. So we did a little research on it, and we found that we definitely needed services. So we had a couple of therapists and a caseworker that did a great job of kind of explaining to us what the norm was, or the right way to go about not necessarily just raising the child, but how to get help, where to turn to. We got a lot of our questions answered through early intervention.
Thank you.
All of them. All of our questions were answered through early intervention. When Josh was born, he also didn't pass his hearing screening at the hospital. So 2 weeks later, we went back and they retested him. Didn't pass. So then we, went to the hospital for more testing. The audiologist there, I think, did give us a lot of information. We were just very overwhelmed with what was going on.
Yes.
So, but they did, I think, everything they could to explain to us what was happening.
Kind of hard to absorb all that information. You're in shock a little bit, I
Definitely.
would say. Thank you.
Okay. Actually, what the Herniason said was pretty typical of what we went through with the newborn hearing screening and Claire not passing that, and then with the follow-up testing, and you too. And we received a wealth of support, and I was floored at how much information came to us, but we were very grateful. We also had family support, which we were very thankful for. But the audiologist, like the local audiologist that we were referred to right after the screening, was helpful, very helpful. She knew the process that we were going to go through and explained it to me very thoroughly and gave me even options that might occur down the road. And then an audiologist at the bigger hospital that we were eventually referred to was also very, very helpful and very knowledgeable. And we were just very impressed with the levels of expertise. And then we had another audiologist that ended up working with us through early intervention. And each one of these professionals was just that. They were very professional and very knowledgeable. And like you said, they were your right hand. And we really needed that knowledge. Even as both he and I are education people that had worked with young children, this was like way out of our realm. You know, we didn't know any of this information. So we were very thankful.
Yeah, I mean, I just agree with basically what everyone said. You know, and we've been through similar experiences. I can definitely relate to the kind of overwhelming feeling, though, because all these people, they give you lots of pamphlets and papers and handouts, and you have folders full of stuff, and it's like, it's almost too much to take in, and you kind of have to, you know, really take time and wade through it and figure out, and not only that, but then when people start telling you about cochlear implants and hearing aids, I mean, these are big decisions you make for your children, and so, you know, it is a little bit overwhelming and stressful. But like Amy said, we did receive a lot of good support.
Thank you. For the second question, I'll start with you, John, and we'll work the other way, if that's okay. Sure. How did this support help you cope with the practical aspects of your child's hearing loss? The initial support that you got.
You know, when you say practical aspects, you mean
day-to-day?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would say the audiologists in the hospital didn't do much of that. They more were just kind of telling us about what our options were as medically, I guess, you know. The early intervention team really helped us with that. Okay. You know, because, I mean, in my experience, and I think my wife's also, we never really had much experience with anyone with hearing loss before. You know, I mean, I knew people had hearing loss, obviously, but I never really interacted with anyone. And so, you know, that first thought of, well, how am I going to communicate with my child? I mean, and then thinking about, well, you know, in the future, my child is going to be so limited in who they can communicate with. And then, you know, working with the early intervention audiologists and therapists, started to realize that there's lots of ways you can interact and communicate with people, even though they, you know, can't necessarily hear you. So even from a newborn baby, you know, lots of eye contact and, you know, just animated expressions and everything. And so a lot of these just different strategies and things you can do to interact with your baby. Through the early intervention, we received a lot of that information.
Thank you.
Just to add to that, about early intervention, our in-home audiologist, she helped us to see the long term, because when your child is born, you want to have, you look forward to those milestones. You know, are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? And, you know, what's it going to be like down the road, teaching them how to ride a bike and things like that. And so we could share those frustrations about wanting to communicate with Claire. We could share those frustrations with our audiologist. And then she also took that and then broke down into steps, you know, the routines that we go through. And that was, it just kind of like fell into our laps once we practiced these routines with our daughter, even before she had her surgery. And then, you know, what I mean by routines is she taught us how to just get our daughter used to having these, I don't know, routines. Like, can you?
Just day-to-day things, like, you know, waking up in the morning, going to bed at night, eating, just kind of those things you do every single day, and, you know, just kind of getting into a routine, you know, that you do the same thing every day, and that helps them to learn just how you do things, I guess.
But it really normalized what we had wanted for our child.
Makes it so life's predictable.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. And let me repeat now for you. The question was, how did this support that you got early on, initially, help you cope with the practical aspects of your child's hearing loss?
I think what they said hits the nail on the head. Everything, the routines and everything. Our in-home audiologist, I just had to act like Joshua was a regular baby, which he was, but just making sure that I talked constantly. I remember we took a lot of pictures of our day-to-day activities, and we made a binder out of it. And every day we would go over, like brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, and little things like that would help his language develop. And it did.
Okay.
It did.
Thank you.
think for me it was a milestone. Our son was our second child, and you compare a lot, of course, between the first and the second, and how that might not be tangible, to compare the two. So the actual milestones of what's expected of the child, these certain ages, so you knew how on track he was, what he needed more help with, and then that's really where the early intervention team really helped to make you see that there's progress being made every day just by the simple things that you do through the day.
Wonderful.
I absolutely agree. The audiologist has taught us, as we've been starting sign language, baby sign language, and that's really important. I have 2 other children, so a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, so they too are participating in the baby sign language, which I think is so important for them to communicate. It's just the wealth of information that is there and the support system. It just feels that there's somebody there to listen. That it's very overwhelming, but there's somebody there, and I appreciate that.
I think for me, it was having a game plan. I like to have a goal and to know what's going to happen. And I think my audiologist was able to work with me to get a game plan established for what to expect. And we had all talked about milestones, but what to expect as far as education and what can I expect for preschool and other further down the road of what we're going to expect. So I think my audiologist was really helpful in establishing a game plan for our daughter.
And just to add on that, I think it was very helpful as far as, the different, with the MA and different organizations and whatnot, what appointments to make, and when you need to do this, helping just with the overall processing of all the paperwork and everything that goes along with, the burden of having, a child with hearing loss, very helpful that way.
Thank you. So now we're going to start with Mark, and we'll come back this way. Does that sound all right? Okay. The third question is, how did this support help you cope with the emotional aspects of having a child diagnosed with a hearing loss?
For us, at least me, myself, it was, we're not the only ones that have lived through this, right? There was books, movies, things to show you how other people have made it through, been very successful. Our caseworker kind of showed us some examples of, this is a 7-year-old with hearing loss who's in a similar condition, and it was that was emotionally helpful, right? You see some very positive things that can come out with the right therapy and the right people around. Very positive.
I'm not going to add on that.
How did this support help you cope with the emotional aspects of having a child diagnosed with hearing loss?
I think just the information, being able to see that there's a game plan, like someone mentioned, because at first is just not knowing what's going to happen. Because as I mentioned, we never had this type of experience. Didn't really know anyone else who went through this experience, and so thinking about what's going to happen when the baby's 1 or 2, and so getting information about hearing aids, about possibly cochlear implants, and then we were referred very early down to Pittsburgh to the Children's Hospital down there, and started getting support from those people. And we actually, our doctor down there invited us to go visit this school down there for children with hearing loss. And doing that and seeing some of these kids who are, in kindergarten, first grade, with cochlear implants or hearing aids, and just the way that, they were listening to music and dancing and singing, and it was just, that gave us a lot of hope right there. Being able to see children who have been through that and are very successful.
So the initial emotional reaction, if you can recall that, when you first heard?
I guess, I don't know. I'm not like a very emotional person. I guess I'm more of like a realist. I just accept it. There were some emotional aspects. Of course, I was thinking about the fact, like I mentioned earlier, that her communication with, the amount of people she'd be able to communicate would be limited. That was the thing that upset me the most. I knew that we would do whatever is necessary to, make her life great. But I just worried about, her not being able to interact with a lot of people.
That was very impacting for me, was our doctor referring us to the school with the children that had cochlear implants, and then seeing how they would do down the road. And another few things that our audiologist had done for us that were very, not just professional, but just thoughtful, was she had tried to connect us with other parents of children with cochlear implants, and that was really, really awesome. Or just hearing loss in general. I know she had us meet you guys, and you guys eventually too, which was really cool to just meet parents of older children and to see how well they were doing. And she also provided us with some resources, just data. A video too was really helpful. So just neat things like that to help us see how this could be down the road.
And Pete, how did this support help you cope with the emotional aspects of having a child diagnosed?
I think mentioned getting connected with other parents, was definitely very helpful. Just going through this, I think for a while, maybe the first 2 years, we attended a parents, maybe once a month we met together, with the early intervention and with a parents group, and just being with people that are going through the same thing is just very helpful and soothing.
The audiologist we work with, she was so compassionate, but also energetic and reassuring, and let us know that our daughter would be fine and I can remember her as saying she's going to do everything that a normal hearing child will do, and she does. She really does.
And looking for you, help you cope with the emotional aspect of finding out?
It's very emotional. My husband has hearing loss, and Ryan's hearing loss is of the same frequencies that my husband's is. My husband's is more severe. So it's a lot to absorb. It's wonderful to know that there's a support system there. Mm-hmm. That they truly, if you are, you always want the best for your child. You always want them to have every opportunity and not to struggle in life. And when you hear that your child has hearing loss, oh no, what did I do? I internalized it, that perhaps I had done something to cause this. I know that not to be true, mm-hmm. But it's really emotional. But I have a really good support system at home. My mm-hmm. husband's my right hand, mm-hmm. and we just want Ryan to have the best life possible. But it's really nice that early intervention, which I had no idea even existed, mm-hmm. They have just come into our house and really just an ear to listen, to know what I'm going through, and to give us the resources that we need to help make Ryan's life as normal as a child that can hear.
And when you say it's a very emotional experience, can you identify what the feeling or what the feelings are?
Devastation. That would be my word. Just completely. It's really hard to put into words because it just feels like I was kicked in the stomach. Mm-hmm. And like I said, you always want the best future for your child. You don't want them to struggle with anything. And I wonder, can he hear me? That's hard.
It sounds like some anxiety involved in
absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. It's with two children who can hear, I never doubted whether they could hear me talking to them. But for Ryan, I don't know that he does hear me. Mm-hmm. And that's emotional.
Mm-hmm. You bet.
It's emotional.
Can I start with you?
Absolutely.
Coming back the other way.
That's fine.
This is the fourth question. What other support We're talking about right in the beginning now, right when you first got the diagnosis. What other support would you have found helpful in order to better understand the consequences of your child's hearing loss to you as parents, to your child, and to the family as a whole? What would have been helpful right off the bat?
To maybe meet other parents. But I mean, it's been 2.5 months, so this is relatively soon. I know that he's going to have a normal, typical childhood and life. But to what the other couples have said prior to is just the opportunity to know that there's a support system out there, and to be able to have adult conversation about that life is going to be okay.
Wonderful.
It's going to be a struggle, but life is going to be okay.
And can I repeat that question? It's a long one.
Sure.
What other support would you have found helpful in order to better understand the consequences of your child's hearing loss to you, to the child, and also to the family as a whole?
Sure. Well, we were very fortunate. We had good audiologists that we work with that did explain it to us. Although right off the bat, like I said, she passed the newborn hearing screening in the hospital. We were sent home, and then it came back and said that she did not pass on a hearing recheck. So I guess for those 2 weeks when we were kind of in limbo, I guess it would have been nice to know right away that it wasn't, so we could have got the ball rolling. But we were pretty quick to act, and were able to get our resources started soon with early intervention.
Okay. Pete, anything you want to add?
I really feel like we received a lot of support that I can't really say that we lacked for anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I can't really think of much else that could have been done. Everything moved quite rapidly with us, and we were referred to early intervention right off the bat. Okay. So, I don't know. I mean, we've heard stories of people that they didn't find out until their children was a year old or so, and
yeah.
I'm just very thankful that we found out when we did, so that way, we could, do things as quickly as possible.
I agree.
First, I'm just really glad that they do the newborn hearing at the hospital, because that alleviates, the children finding out that they have hearing loss in kindergarten, which they're missing so much. So I think that's a wonderful thing that they do that, and I think early intervention really just helped us get the ball rolling as well, even though we were naive with some stuff, but it got us right back on track for that short period. So.
For us, with after son failed the hearing test, they weren't exactly sure if it was fluid in the ear. So we actually went a couple of weeks seeing some specialists to find out that it was a permanent type of issue.
Pittsburgh.
And for us, that left some, and I don't want to say hope, but maybe this is just a temporary thing, So something that could have been improved or a little bit better right off was a definitive answer that this is a permanent hearing loss, and in our case it wasn't. It took a little bit and a few different specialists to tell us that.
I think we also, when we were going through this, another person that we knew was actually going through the same thing, and I think that is what gave us a little bit of hopeful information, because it turned out the person we know, her daughter did not have a hearing loss, and she had gone other places, and they told her something different. So I think that made me believe maybe if I go somewhere else, they're going to tell me that Joshua does not have a hearing loss, a little bit.
Well, thank you all for sharing this information with us. It's very helpful, and been very forthcoming, and we appreciate that. And I think we're going to take a break.